It's very tacky, it's very unprofessional, and bullying tactics are not the way to get to your citizens. A screenshot of the person who it was, and I'm more than happy to put that out on social media or take that to the news outlet.
What's your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jennifer Rosenbaum. My address is 1521 Lincoln Terrace, McDonough, Georgia 30252. Is the microphone on? I'm sorry. Is it? Okay, there we go.
Hey, we do now.
Can my time start over?
Yes.
Yes. It's 1521 Lincoln Terrace, McDonough, Georgia 30252. That's in District 1. Gentlemen, tonight I'm here because I want to voice my concerns for this proposed increase, and pretty much all, I'm assuming, despite Mr. Holmes ran and voiced their campaign on conservative values, and values that your constituency appreciated and obviously liked well enough to vote for you. And these people, I'm assuming most of you thought were smart enough to be able to put you in office, but now their ideas maybe are not so smart that you're willing to put your vote on them. And I am here today to challenge you to do so. Commissioner Moss, this is specifically for you since you directly represent myself as well as you, Chairman Smith, for representing the county. But I actually challenge all of the commissioners to look at what the people are coming here, what they're saying, how they're feeling about this. I have a couple of proposals, and I'm not even a commissioner, about things that we could do besides putting the burden of needing more money onto the homeowners. First of all, I worked in a hotel here in this county for at least 2 years, and I know that we were not using the hotel-motel excise tax to its fullest capability. Counties in the metro area and counties around us all were at the maximum rate, while we were at least a couple of percentage points lower than that. My suggestion would be is that if we need money, if we're having money that's not being met, we put that burden off on the visitors who are coming to this county, not the people who are paying the taxes to live here already and subject to the other taxes that are here. First of all, I myself, I'm a recently new homeowner, and my real estate agent didn't even remind us that we needed to file a homestead exemption. So this year, you guys are getting a lot of money from me, all of it, every penny. However, I really, like I said, I just don't think it's fair that what we're doing now is that saying, you're a homeowner, you live in Henry County, you're going to bear the burden. My first argument is that we passed a balanced budget, and I believe I heard yesterday that was on May 22nd. Is that correct? May 22nd? We passed a balanced budget, which means, and I worked for the Georgia House of Representatives, I'm in law school, I'm an educated person, I understand this. A balanced budget means that you looked at what money was coming in, what all revenue you were going to have, what all you needed to spend out, and you matched them up. And at the end of the day, at the end of the paper, it said zero. Is that a correct understanding? Yes, okay. Well, my concern is that we did that without this increase. So we had money lined up to go places before we even needed this increase. My concern is now is, where is this increase going to go? Where is this money coming from? Why do we need it? I understand from a conversation both with Commissioner Bowman and Commissioner Moss that this is going to pay back into the reserve because we took too much money out of the reserve. A counter argument to that is, why are we spending money that we didn't have? This means in the budget, we are allotting for things that we didn't have the money for, to the point that we had to take money out of our reserve, which means we didn't have the money to pay for it. And Commissioner Chairman, I followed your campaign really well. I know it really well. One of the main things you said was, if we can't pay for it, we don't need it. That's it, bottom line. And I stand by those values, and I am hoping that the conservatives on this board stand by those values. And I am a very active person in this community. I'm on Henry County Young Republicans. I do many other things. And I'm just here to let you know you will be held accountable for your decision on July 23rd. And if it has anything to do, I just appreciate your consideration, and I request that you do not approve this millage rate increase. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chairman,
next,
can I ask one question?
Okay. Yes.
I had one quick question. Because we had this problem earlier this morning at the 9 a.m. meeting. A lot of people, there's been some misunderstanding. I haven't heard anybody on the board talking about raising the millage. The millage last year was 14.497. A lot of people, we had some people show up this morning thinking that we were asking to increase that millage above 14.497. That's,
Yeah, no, sir, I understand that. That's
so
not the
it's
case.
the
I watched this
value of
morning.
the increases. Okay. That's the big part of it that I just want to make sure we got that clear, because there was some misunderstanding about that this morning.
Yes, sir, I understand. I actually heard you speak this morning, and I understand, I understood the argument as you made it this morning. My concern is that if we're saying it's a formula, and we're saying that it's not really an increase, but because of the way it's set up, the state requires us to call it an increase. Well, my concern is, and I'm a law student, so I'm going to let you know math was not my thing. I am not 100% on that, but I do know one thing. I knew algebra. And I can tell you that x plus y equals z. And those are our three variables. And I'm just simplifying it down to three because I'm not an accountant and I definitely don't do assessments. But what I do know is if we say our assessment value is x and we say our millage rate is y, if you fluctuate x or y, that changes z, either direction. We're not changing y this time, but x change. So we're going to see an increase across the board no matter what. I understand that. My concern is that if we pass this, my millage rate is going to be 14.89, I think.
No, last year was 14.497. We haven't decided what it's going to be yet.
Right. Well, last year, that's what mine was. Well, according to the notice that you put out, if this doesn't pass, my millage rate would be 12 point something, which inherently from 12 to 14, I mean, that's an increase. Because if this wasn't passed, I wouldn't have the 14 millage rate, I'd have the 12.
And then the other thing, I didn't want to interrupt you when you were speaking, but balanced budget, because what was approved with the budget back on May 22nd that passed 6-0 was that we were going to take $6.3 million out of reserves.
That's correct.
So I think there's been a little misunderstanding saying that it was a balanced budget without whatever happens. It's not that we are spending above and beyond. It's just that we've been hitting the cash reserves for the last 5 to 6 years.
Right.
So it's just lowering how much we're taking because the rainy day fund, the balance fund, we've kind of been taking a little bit out of savings every year. And believe me, I don't want to tax anybody. I mean, the easy thing is to roll this thing back, but I worry about the bond ratings and some of the other things that impact us that I know you're very well aware of too, because the cities are also at the mercy of what we do and how well we financially manage the assets. I read in an article yesterday that the Standard & Poor's rating agency is prepared to pay the federal government over $1 billion to settle some of the discrepancies that they got hit with because the collapse in the rating agencies. I'm worried that all the rating agencies, the credit rating agencies, gave us a break during the downturn, all government agencies, because they knew that this was the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, that now that they're settling with the federal government on some of their malpractices of the past, they're going to sharpen their pencils, and in the first year that revenue actually increased because property values have increased, I'm worried they're going to come to us and see that we're still pulling out of the rainy day fund and consider that not good financial management when I can tell you next year we have multiple fire stations coming on board. We have we're going to completely replace some of the equipment that is over 18 years old that only has a life expectancy of 12 years. I want to give every dime as much as possible, and I think we're set up. What my goal would be, and I'm just speaking as an individual commissioner, but I think there are other commissioners that would echo this, is I think we manage this in a way that we can roll this millage back over the coming years as we continue to do it and even give back some this year. But to take it down to 12% or the 12 millage, I just don't know if I can do that. And I love the county too much to let us not catch up on some of the things that we've been pulling out of cash reserves for. But 12.992.
13, I think.
But thank you for coming tonight and speaking to us. I
Yes,
thought you did a really good job.
And thank you. And I just have one quick question. I know my time is up and I know somebody else needs to speak, but may I respond to that?
Sure.
Okay. And I understand. I love Henry County too. And to be honest, I mean, a lot of people in Henry County know this about me. It's not anything I'm ashamed of, but I grew up in Henry County, but I grew up in defects in Henry County. I was in defects till the day I turned 18. I understand. I've worked my tail off to be where I am, and I understand the value of being raised here, living here, the quality of life here. I understand all those things, and I appreciate them. I would think just as much or even more than some of the people who live here. my concern is that I share those same exact feelings. I'm worried that our bond ratings won't be as good. I'm worried that, people won't look at Henry County as good. I understand that. I just disagree where I think that the burden should be put onto the homeowner. I'm saying that my argument is that we find ways to put that burden onto the visitors, the tourists that come here, the movie people who come here. We have the USSSA baseball tournament here every year. And I know that because I used to work at a hotel that housed all those people. One thing we're missing out on is companies like Norfolk Southern, companies, the other factories around here, they house their trainees in our hotels. That, these are businesses that have to pay those hotel fees because they need their people here, regardless of whether the hotel motel excise percentage is 5 or it's the maximum. They have to pay that either way. I'm saying we explore other options like the hotel motel excise tax and increasing it to its maximum and putting that burden off on visitors. I think that, and even if you appreciate Henry County as much as you say you do, and I'm sure you've come to love here, you love this home, I think that you would feel the burden that we as a community, we felt the burden long enough. And if we're going to be hosting these big events and having them take over our parks to where our citizens can't even be in them for 2 weeks because of the big tournament, that they might as well pay for it because they don't. And, and they should also pay for the hotels and pay more than that, pay the excise tax. I just don't understand. I think that we have the same base level, but my natural instinct is to put that burden off onto the visitors and tourists and people who are coming to our county, and your natural instinct is to put it on the homeowners.
Well, and I don't want to get into an adversarial relationship because I think we're saying the same thing. I mean, that's why I'm so thankful we had the SPLOST pass, and I think it's done a good job. I will tell you the hotel motel tax, though, has to be used in specific ways. The thing I found is so frustrating, and as I even talked about, and you saw it this morning, governmental accounting puts so many strings and restrictions on everything. I had to explain for years the difference between general funds, SPLOST funds. A lot of what you're saying is right on, and I agree with you, except for that there's so many strings of restriction put on how you can spend those different pots of money that you can't just increase one and then that's going to immediately relieve this one. And that's what's been frustrating, and I think we try to do as good of a job of explaining. And I have no doubt, and congratulations, I think it's awesome. I'm K through 12 right here, graduate of Henry County High School. I think it's awesome what you've accomplished. So thank you for even coming out here, and I think it's great what you're accomplishing in life too. Right.
Well, I appreciate your time. Mr. Moss, I really hope you consider my thoughts, and I really hope you think about those on July 23rd. Just so you know, I do hold each one of you accountable to be accountable to your constituency. And just a final thought, towards Mr. Preston, I appreciate, going back and forth. I think maybe our logic is just a little bit different here. My final comment would just be I'm a common citizen and I don't get to be behind the desk and see everything that we have and what money can go where and what can be spent where. And I can think of ideas of how to pass the burden. So I expect you all, having all that extra information that I don't have, to find those same things or other ideas. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Jennifer Rosenbaum.
Good evening, Chairman and the Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Rosenbaum. My address is 1521 Lincoln Terrace, McDonough, Georgia 30252. And I've actually been here before at the September meeting in front of you all with the same request. And fortunately, I did know that you all weren't voting on it tonight. However, I did want to go ahead and give you some of the reasons why I still urge you to deny the zoning request and to consider the community's wishes for this. Since it is being moved, unfortunately for my groups and myself, I won't be here on the December 16th meeting. I'll be on a cruise in Aruba, and Bonaire, Curacao, and Venezuela. So I'll be having a good time, but I'll be hoping that you all will be considering what I'm saying tonight, and I will definitely be hoping that a lot of the community members show up like they did at the zoning board hearing. I don't know if many of you watched the zoning board hearing or not, but we crowded this place out. There was actually a line to get in, and I've never seen that happen, and I've been to quite a few meetings here this year. So we had a line out the door. We had people, there was no sitting room, standing room only. People couldn't get in. People had to wait out there in the area. So there was a lot of people who came here to show up and were in support of this area. And State Representative Andy Welch actually spoke there too, and one of our considerations is not that you just think about this as the people of Locust Grove versus Dollar General, but think of this as the people of Locust Grove and the people of Henry County who wish to preserve what little part of rural Henry County that we do have left. I know Commissioner Holmes made a statement that went out a couple weeks ago that said something about Henry County being a part of Atlanta and needing to embrace that. However, I would respectfully disagree. There are a lot of areas, especially in southern Locust Grove and out in Ola, that we consider to be rural still and not a part of Atlanta, and we don't wish to put that on all of the residents of Henry County if they do not desire that. On several occasions, I've spoken to Mr. Moss and let him know my feelings about that, let him know the feelings of the people that I've been hearing from about our zoning issue down here. And at the last meeting that I spoke with you all about, I presented the same packet of signatures, which I'll be more than happy to leave with you all, that has over 1,200 signatures of people in District 1 alone that oppose this rezoning, and for good reason. Additionally, at the zoning board hearing, I spoke about a couple of reasons that our request should be honored and that you all should consider the public's interest in this. The first of that being that the Georgia Supreme Court has held that on zoning board issues that it's going to be a balancing test between the public interest and then the property's owner's rights to rezone his own property. Here, we had a number of public interests, one being the amount of people who are opposed to this, who want to keep that area rural. The other thing about that is that the type of property that they want to bring into the area has been shown across the county-wide that it does increase crime, it decreases people's property values, and it takes away from the quality of life that we all would like to preserve there. On the other side, for the property owner's right to sell or rezone his property, the reasonings that this owner may have could include reasons such as his property would be more valuable if he rezoned it. Fortunately for us, the Supreme Court has also ruled that this reasoning is not decisive. It does not make or break the case. Just because the property owner his land would go up in value does not mean that it would be okay to just authorize a rezoning on that issue alone. In addition, when it comes to weighing out the public's interest here, I would request that you all look at the 1,200 signatures. You can verify that over 1,200 of them are from District 1 alone. That you all listen to the emails, the calls, the concerns, the people that have shown up to let you know about this. To the people who, out of their own money, mind you, I don't think I can fit it all on there, but anyway, they made signs to post out in their yards. People made banners that they put on the corner of the roads. And people really became involved with this situation. And I think that this is one of the first times that, I've been really impressed with the amount of people that have come out and been in support of something and brought a community so close together, and so many of us. And I would like to make it clear that we did have a town hall meeting. It was a citizens call town hall meeting. We had that back in September, and over 200 people on a Saturday in game season came out and, had a Q&A with Mr. Moss. And I just want to make it clear that it was that big of a crowd, because that's been questioned. And I wanted you all to know that. And I also wanted you to keep in mind, I know a few of you did a vote the last meeting. I'm sorry, my time's expired. So unless you will allow me to speak for 30 seconds to finish my sentence, then I will be done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, Ms. Jennifer Rosenbaum, County Government.
Good evening, Chairman. Yes, sir. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Rosenbaum. My address is 1521 Lincoln Terrace, McDonough, Georgia. Mr. Prince, welcome. I'm so glad I finally get to speak in front of you. So, unfortunately, I did not get to see you last time. So, congratulations on winning, and welcome to the Commissioners. And I also wanted to start with, I was not here in December. I was on a cruise vacation, had a great time. Thanks for asking. But you all voted during that time period on a zoning issue that I worked really hard on this summer, and I just wanted to thank each of the 5 commissioners that were here and that did vote in our favor. I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate you listening to the citizens' voices on that. I know that we had a lot of people that were involved in that, and a lot of people that were really concerned. So Commissioner Holmes, Preston, Barham, Chairman Smith, and Commissioner Moss, I do appreciate you voting yes on that. Unfortunately, you were not here. And then in addition to that, I did want to say that I really appreciated Commissioner Preston's comment tonight about wanting to keep some businesses here locally or working on getting contracts to stay here locally. That's very important for our local businesses, and to hear someone on the board speak about those concerns, it is very much appreciated. I do not myself own a small business, but I know a lot of people in this county do, and it's very important if we're going to keep local businesses here that we are able to sustain them with any county projects that we may have. Unfortunately, that is about the gist of the good comments that I do have. I do have a couple of other things that I'm concerned about and wanted to address the board with. One of them being that one of the commissioners, and I will exclude Mr. Holmes from this and Mr. Prince, because at the time that the information was given to me, I know that it was not Mr. Prince. From the description, I do not believe Mr. Holmes has a white female daughter. So the rest of you, however, someone approached me, approached my job, my part-time job at Banana Republic. They researched me on Facebook, and one of your daughters, I don't know who, someone who's old enough to have children, approached a coworker of mine at my job and told them that they were looking for me. I've pulled the videotape on that. I have a screenshot of the person who it was, and I'm more than happy to put that out on social media or take that to the news outlet. However, I wanted to confront you all and give you the opportunity that if you know it was you or if you know it was a family member of yours that approached my job, I just wanted to let you know it's very tacky, it's very unprofessional, and bullying tactics are not the way to get to your citizens. Each and every time I come to this meeting, I give you my address. Most of you, if not, have not already, have my email address because I've emailed you on several occasions. The preferred form of contact and the professional form of contact is via email. If you'd like, you can have my cell phone number, or you can approach me when I'm at any of these meetings that I come to regularly. However, sending someone, a member of your family, to my job to threaten and harass me about speaking at these meetings is not a way to reach out to your constituents, and I would ask that you refrain from doing so in the future. Additionally, I wanted to ask, I don't know why this is the term now or if this is something that has been forever changed, but if someone can answer this for me. I noticed that the public comments this time were at the very end of the meeting. Was this something that was discussed beforehand? Is this something that, I mean, all the meetings I've been to, they've been normally toward the beginning of it, front-loaded, so I'm just asking, was this an executive decision to move the public comments toward the end of the meeting? Mr. Prince, do you happen to know if this was an executive decision to change the public comments to the end of the meeting?
I do not know.
Okay. Mr. Smith, do you happen to know?
I moved it.
You moved it? Okay. Okay, go ahead, please.
It was creating such a distraction in the beginning of the meeting that I made an administrative decision that I needed to move it. Now, the ordinance or the rules and the policy indicates it needs to be in the front. But it was creating such a distraction that it was hindering the lengthy meetings we had. It was hindering the train of thought process on the public and also us. So we're going to hear the public, and somewhere in the near future we'll probably move it. I will move it back. The board had nothing to do with it.
Right. Now, I just wanted to ask each individual.
I am responsible for the conduct of the meetings, and I had to make a decision that it was just about getting out of hand from time to time. So I'll take it on my own to do that. I can put it. I'm in charge at the moment. Maybe short-lived. I'm in charge at the moment now on the agenda. So you can blame me for that. But somewhere in the course of time, I'll probably change it back.
So I would not like to place blame, but rather I would ask that I guess a question or a concern of mine be made is that a lot of times when people come to these meetings, they are not able to come and stay the whole time. Fortunately, tonight I was able to, and I was able to stay long enough to be able to get up here and make my comments, but that is not the case for everyone. And so I would ask if you could take it under consideration to make the public comments back toward the beginning of the meeting, maybe not the first thing right away, but maybe closer to the beginning so that people who aren't able to stay the whole time do get the opportunity to address you all, because it's very important that the public be able to approach their their elected officials and be able to voice their concerns. And these meetings are sometimes the only way we have of doing so. For example, several times I have emailed every single one of these commissioners with the exception of Mr. Prince. I have not had the opportunity to do so. And I have received maybe 1 or 2 emails back. If I'm not getting emails back from you all, then the only opportunity that I have is to address you all at these meetings. And if I'm unable to stay the entire length, as is anyone other constituents, then I'm not going to get that opportunity. So while I understand your reasoning, I would ask that you reconsider and that you look into maybe moving the public comments back toward the beginning of the meetings. Finally, the last comment that I just wanted to make, if I'm allowed to do so now that the time has stopped.
Oh, yeah, I responded, so you can finish up.
Okay, well, just one final thing I wanted to discuss. There's been a lot of movement on social media regarding the proposed local legislation that's coming up this legislative session. Fortunately, I have the opportunity to work with the legislators, and I have myself set up appointments to speak with them about this issue and my concerns on it. One thing I did want to mention is a couple of people, Chairman, are, I guess the murmur is going around that you signed this resolution, so you must be for it. But I wanted to make the contention that you also voted against the millage rate adoption this year, but you had to sign the adoption of the millage rate. So you also voted against this proposed resolution, but you were also had to sign it. Can you make that clear? Explain to us or the people in general why you signed these documents?
Well, it's very simple. It is the chairman's responsibility to sign all resolutions. Whether I agree with them or whether I vote for them, it doesn't matter. The chair is authorized to, by duty, to sign all resolutions. Just like the clerk, whether they have any knowledge of anything, and it doesn't matter, they have to attest the signatures. In most cases on a resolution, it's just limited to 1. In this case, it had all spots there for signatures, which is kind of out of the ordinary, but normally, if it had been a normal resolution, it would only carry 1 signature, and that would be mine. So I am authorized to, not authorized, but duty-bound to sign all the resolutions. That's why I signed it, even though I voted no. So that's real simple there.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the explanation. I just wanted the people of the public to be able to know that the chairman's responsible for signing all resolutions that come before him, whether he voted for them or not, just so that it's not manipulated or taken advantage of by other people to say that you were for this, that is why you signed it. And finally, I just wanted to voice my concern that I am wholeheartedly against this local piece of legislation. I will be at the legislature every day this year, and I will do my best to make sure that this does not pass as it was written. I am all for amending the local legislation and fixing our understanding of what the law passed in 1990 was without having to go through the costly, I guess, expenditure of a trial and a case and everything. But at the same time, the farce of a piece of local legislation that was produced by this board is flat out ridiculous, and I cannot believe that any American would want to give up those executive duties from an elected official into an appointed official. And I don't understand why. I would love to speak with each and every one of you about that, and I would like you to know on the outset that I'm wholeheartedly against this, and I'm more than willing to discuss with you my concerns about it, as well as help you propose amendments to that piece of local legislation. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you so much.